Big night tonight. Big night tonight. Dana Bash sits down with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. The reason Governor Walz is there, as I will explain, I'm going to read for you my Fox News column this morning. I want you to send it everywhere. It's the 15 questions that Dana Bash should ask. When I interviewed President Trump a week ago yesterday, I did more than 24 questions in 35 minutes. So I think there ought to be room for at least 24 questions if Harris doesn't filibuster and if Walz does not interrupt. But Dana Bash is a pro. I've got great expectations for this tonight. I think she will ask serious questions, and I will explain in the column the 15 that I think need to be asked. Other news happened yesterday, though, and I want you to know that the Supreme Court blocked Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness. This is not surprising. They have done it before. Everybody knows it's unconstitutional. Joe Biden knew it. He was buying votes when he was still a viable candidate. It must stop. Number two, there is no controversy about the Arlington Cemetery visit involving President Trump. The families of the fallen invited the former president and invited him to bring videographers and a photographer because they wanted it memorialized. I believe J.D. Vance had the exact correct response to the non-story that's being ginned up by the New York Times, the Washington Post. The New York Times headline is, Trump videos at Arlington stir more fallout after a gravesite visit. No, they don't. Veterans support Trump. Veterans support Vance. And here is Vance talking to this issue in Pennsylvania yesterday. I believe it is cut number 14.
Well, I think, first of all, the altercation at Arlington Cemetery is the media creating a story where I really don't think that there is one. There is verifiable evidence. There is verifiable evidence that the campaign was allowed to have a photographer there. There's verifiable, they were invited to have a photographer there. There's verifiable evidence that the families of these poor people who had their loved ones die 3 years ago at Abbey Road, Abbey Gate, those 13 Americans, a lot of them were there with the president. They invited him to be there and to support them. That's not an insult to the memories of their loved ones. They wanted Donald Trump there, and thank God that we have a president who stands with our veterans instead of one who runs away from them. Now it is amazing to me that you have apparently somebody at Arlington Cemetery, some staff member, had a little disagreement with somebody, and the media has turned this into a national news story. You know what I think our veterans care a lot more about? That Kamala Harris's VP nominee lied about his military service. I think that our veterans care a lot more about that. And the other thing our veterans care a lot more about is that 3 years ago, 13 brave, innocent Americans died, and they died because Kamala Harris refused to do her job, and there hasn't been a single investigation or a single firing. I don't look, sometimes mistakes happen. That's just the nature of government, the nature of military service. But to have those 13 Americans lose their lives and not fire a single person is disgraceful. Kamala Harris is disgraceful. We're going to talk about a story out of those 13 brave, innocent Americans who lost their lives. It's that Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
And I believe, by the way, that resonates because America knows the cover-up happened at Abbey Gate. They know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris screwed that up completely. They know that cued Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. It probably cued Iran to encourage Hamas on 10/7. American weakness is provocative, and the most weak we've ever been in my lifetime is at Abbey Gate. It was a disaster. Now back to tonight's interview. All right, I have 15 questions. If you go to foxnews.com, you go to the opinion page. I always have a Morning Glory column on Tuesdays and Thursdays when the Tuesday doesn't follow a national holiday. There won't be one there on Tuesday because it's a national holiday on Monday. But the new column is the 15 questions, and I want to read through them for you so that you have them handy and you send this column. The column is posted and linked at my X account and at HHS Lynx. That's the second one I've done for people who don't want to hear about the Browns and the Guardians and the Cavs. They just want the politics. Here are the questions which Bash should pose to Kamala Harris. 1. President Biden named you to lead the effort to stem the flow of migrants across our southern border in March of 2021. That did not happen. Why? 2. How many people entered the country without invitation since you and Joe Biden took over? 3. What was your role in the withdrawal of Afghanistan? 4. In your acceptance speech, you noted the horrors that occurred in Israel on 10/7, as well as, your phrase, at the same time as the loss of innocent life in Gaza. Was it your intent, Madam Vice President, in any way to equate the massacre on 10/7 with the Israeli Defense Forces' actions in Gaza since then? 5. Did Israel have the right this past weekend to strike Hezbollah in a preemptive attack on the terrorist missile force? 6. Does Israel have the right to strike Iran to preempt another attack from Iran? Remember, Iran attacked Israel in April. 7. If Israel is attacked by Iran, would it be legitimate for Israel? If Israel is attacked by Iran again, would it be legitimate for Israel to destroy the oil export facilities on Karg Island? 8. If China attempts to invade Taiwan, will American military force be used to defend the island nation? 9. Should the Supreme Court be expanded in its size? 10. How much of the GDP should be spent on the Pentagon? 11. How do you fix the recruitment crisis our military is experiencing? 12. America's ability to lead and indeed dominate in artificial intelligence and supercomputing requires at least a doubling of our total domestic energy output. That is easiest to accomplish with new, modern, very safe nuclear power plant. Do you support building such plant? 13. You were absolutely against fracking in your 2019 presidential campaign. What is your policy on fracking now? And if it changed, why? 14. What is the highest marginal tax rate you would see enacted into law, and at what level of adjusted gross income should that rate apply? And 15, this is a soft question, what is the most significant issue on which you have disagreed with President Biden? Okay, I conclude the column this way. Note that these are all direct and simple questions. A rule of serious journalists in the broadcast arena is not to pose multiple questions at the same time, and only the last question, actually the penultimate question, about the highest marginal tax rate and the level of AGI at which it would apply, includes a request for two answers, as those two answers are inextricably connected. One question at a time obliges the guest to focus and to respond to questions. Bash is very good at her business. If Dana stays true to the mission of informing the public, an already excellent reputation on her part will grow even stronger. Now that's over at Fox News, and I want you to send it everywhere. It's at my X account, and we're going to post this over at my YouTube account. I want you to follow me and subscribe at YouTube, please.